This is a video recording of our former principal, Susan Kropog, and our current principal, Lindsay Guidry, sharing some of their memories of their time here at St. Anne. So, Susan, would you start off with introducing yourself? Tell us how many years you taught here, including like your time in the classroom, whatever you'd like to share.
Okay. I have been at St. Anne School since 1980. I taught 5th grade first, then I started the resource program, then I became assistant principal in 1987. And then in 1994, I became the first lay principal when the Salesians left the region. And I was here till luckily the year before COVID, when Lindsay took over.
And hi, I'm Lindsay Guidry, principal of St. Anne. I've been at St. Anne School since 2005. The year of Katrina was my first year at St. Anne. I worked as a classroom teacher in 2nd grade, also as a coordinator of student affairs, curriculum coordinator, and principal now.
Okay, so would you like to tell us, we're going to start forward, maybe work backward a little
Sure.
bit. So tell us like what happened with the whole Ida and the hurricane.
We were very blessed that, it wasn't anything like the damage sustained during Hurricane Katrina. So the buildings really received minimal damage compared to where we were, the year of Katrina. So we did have a few spots that needed to be repaired, some ceiling tiles that needed to be replaced, but for the most part, within 2 weeks we were able to reopen the doors, luckily.
Mm-hmm. So when did when did you get word from the Archdiocese about closing?
For
Ida,
it was really just the day before. So that Friday we had school, and they thought we would go ahead and close that Monday and Tuesday, and then we were going to be playing it by ear. So I think at first we just said we would be closed Monday, and then after that we were able to let our families know that we would be closed the rest of the week. And we just did it week by week, and we had our anticipated reopening date, I believe, on the 11th, and then we ended up reopening on the 13th to give us a little bit more time to prepare. Our teachers did an awesome job of regrouping, reworking what first quarter would look like, looking at their lesson plans and getting their classrooms back together.
Mm-hmm. Were you able to do any virtual teaching during that time?
Not during that time because of the power outages. So for the most part, St. Anne didn't get power back until the Thursday before school reopened. So most of the communities and neighborhoods still didn't have power.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so Susan, what about, Katrina?
Katrina and Lindsay, okay, it was a different story. But we did, coincidentally, it was the Friday before that we really kind of had everybody pick up books and stuff, thinking, oh, well, it might come this way, because they still weren't sure about it in Florida first. And of course, unfortunately, our area was hit. The worst thing was when Father Michael told me that every first floor area of the entire school flooded. I just couldn't believe it. The old convent, which we were using for our early childhood 3-year-old program, took on 3 feet of water. So we were at a loss. What are we going to do? And we didn't have, obviously, all the technology that we have today. I was sitting in Baton Rouge, as were many people evacuated there. And we were thinking we could not reopen. Kids, our first getting out to people was find another school. We are just not going to be able to reopen. They had all these walls were broken down and everything. But luckily, 2 principals, Vicki Hemstedel of St. Benil and Carol Stack of St. Philip, reached out to me. We had a good collaborative group of principals at the time, and I thank them because they had areas they could offer me. Had to think quickly, where do we put kids, what do we do? And the first meeting, this is just crazy times, so things get better, Lindsay, when things are bad. We met, I was staying at the Homewood Suites in Baton Rouge, and I sent word out. There were a lot of people in Baton Rouge, some came back from their houses in Metairie, and I said, we'll have our first meeting. Homewood Suites gave me the conference room. and I presented the plan that Father Michael and I had spoken about of putting this school at 2 campuses. And the outpouring of support from the faculty and staff is just one more reason why St. Anne's such a wonderful place. So we started that plan, teachers had to move all kind of things, but the next, and probably one of my most vivid memories, is the church didn't flood. So I said, well, parents, if you wanna leave St. Anne, that's fine. If you wanna come, we're gonna be on 2 campuses. It was standing room only in St. Anne Church. The number of parents that was so happy, even though it was gonna put them out for a semester. Some of them had kids at 2 different campuses. We had to stagger our times based on the homeschool's plans. I tell you, that's one of my most vivid memories of how happy the parents were and supportive that St. Anne's School could come back as St. Anne's School. And obviously we did.
And I remember that time so well too, of meeting in Homewood Suites, getting our idea of what our plan would be, and then working with the colleagues I had at the time to call I had 31 students in my class at the time. I called them all, and 30 of my students came back. One had actually moved permanently, but 30 of the students came back to our gym in St. Philip that we partitioned with volleyball goals and sheets and lots of different things. We got very, very creative on how we could make learning happen, and it worked.
It worked.
And a blessing for me to see was, being that it was my first year at St. Anne, the leadership for sure, and then also just the collaboration of the teachers, the camaraderie. Most of our faculty and staff too, similar to Ida, had a lot of home damage personally, so we were all working and trying to help each other and support each other while they were rebuilding their homes and their personal lives, and then also, working with our families at school. So it made us stronger, I think, as a faculty and team. And it just, for me, it showed me the strength of the community that we have here.
And you were at St. Philip, correct?
Yes.
So some of the teachers were sharing with me that they had to break down every Friday their classroom, hide everything so that they could have Mass.
And then we would come Sunday night and take everything back out to reset for Monday morning.
And I know that Susan probably remembers that a lot of the teachers wanted to come back when we found out what the plan was. We wanted to come back, get books for the children, get our supplies. We were told we could not because it was not safe, but that everything would be very nicely packed up for us and labeled. And so then the teachers came and nothing was packed up neatly. Everything was just thrown in trash bags in the gym, and we had to go sort through everything. So just
I remember that day well too. It was I think everybody had just cleared out what could be saved, and so we were opening these Bisqueen bags and seeing, if we saw a 2nd grade reader, we'd call over and say, I found 2nd grade in this stash. So we'd all go over and just sort out everything that we could find, and we took it all back with us, anything that wasn't damaged or wet. And we used those materials. We ordered more materials, and I remember I had just my dry erase board on a chair, and my students in little chairs and cafeteria tables in a U, and we would go outside sometimes for religion class. I believe maybe a parents club came and cut the lot for us next to the gym where we were, so that the kids could play outside and we could have class there too. But we rearranged everything and made it work.
Yeah.
So Susan was in charge of the lower grades, and then Cherie Saint Germain was in charge of the middle school.
Well,
right?
but I went back and forth.
Okay.
Yes. So what I would do is I usually went back and forth between both schools. The other thing that I took upon myself to do, which I think you still do the same thing, no important files in bottom files, because the personnel files were in the bottom. They all got wet. And by law, you're supposed to keep personnel files forever. So in between going to the schools, we set up the copy machine in the cafeteria here. and I would dry out the files and copy what I could of every single personnel file that had been in the bottom drawer. So that was kind of what I did in between visiting one school and the other school.
And
Crazy.
so, how did you get the school, what was the process getting the school back for the students?
Well, the process was whatever we could do first. We found out, I believe, who left first in December? The lower ones or the upper ones?
Lower.
Yes, because y'all were really in a bad situation with all that. So we were able to get the lower back, and I remember when I came back, this office still had cement floor, and this was cut up to here. Everything was still open. So the student areas were all repaired, but these areas were still being repaired when we came back.
Right, and my classroom was upstairs by 3rd and 4th grade. I think some other 2nd grade teachers were by 1st grade hallway, and we'd meet in the middle to team teach. So, and then finally, maybe after Christmas in January, when the lower level was all ready, we moved back down.
And then, of course, that's when middle school came back. It was a crazy time.
It was.
But it teaches you, and I know you've seen this already, and I don't know if you remember, I texted you because by mistake, the Archdiocese cell phoned me that your schools were closing during COVID. And I texted you, this too will pass.
Yeah.
Hasn't passed yet,
Right.
but from experience of so many things I've been through, my faith has only gotten larger.
Right.
Things do pass and things get better.
Right, and I remember sharing that with the staff to let them know.
Yeah.
And it became kind of a little bit of a mantra, especially during that time when we were out and we couldn't be at school. And it was so frustrating to know that we've got this great building and this wonderful campus, but for the safety of our students, we all had to be home, even the little ones. But it's something we repeated often.
Yeah, so go ahead and talk about that. Your first year as principal, and this is what you get faced with, closing the school.
So we had a wonderful first year up until the first
March, was it?
March. So March 13th was our closure day. That we were notified earlier that morning by the Archdiocese that, it sounds like the governor is going to make an announcement soon that schools are going to close. The day before, I was at a principal's meeting at the Archdiocese and was reassured we're not going to close unless we really have to. So I came back and thought, okay, we're going to be okay. We won't close unless things get worse progressively. It was still so new at the time. But the next day around noon, we heard the governor announce that schools would close, and our students were off campus. It was a hard time. It was a time that we really tried to keep everybody connected. And luckily, the technology we have today, we were able to do that because that was the frustrating piece of knowing that we had to regroup all of our students and had to regroup everybody without being able to be face to face. But our teachers, we met weekly by Zoom. We'd have faculty meetings each week. And then the teachers, they're so creative and wonderful, and they find ways to keep learning, and make it continue. So they developed plans to make videos on Google Classroom. We set up Google Classroom eventually, got it to our students. Miss Rainey and our cafeteria staff continued cooking lunch for the students and doing a drive-through service for them, which gave them a little bit of normalcy, even if it was just to get out, of the house for an hour to come and get lunch at St. Anne and then go back home to do their classwork. But every day they worked so hard to keep in touch with the families. The teachers contacted all of their families each week just to check in to see how the kids were doing, and to make sure that they were understanding the material to be ready for the next year.
Good. So I'm just going to ask just a couple of questions. What did you like most about teaching? I'll pose this to Susan first. Teaching and then as principal.
Well, I would say you must love children to teach school. And the excitement of children always excited me. When I became principal, first assistant principal, That was the biggest transition, because you're not with that group of kids every day. It's just a different way to overview the school. But I can tell you, my personality fit the challenges that it takes to be principal. You have to think on your feet, you have to be flexible. What you thought you started out with in the morning, it's different than teaching, because usually you're going by your plan. I actually thrived on being able to solve problems, help people, and still be with the children. That's so rewarding.
And what about you, Lindsay?
I love being in the classroom, working with the students, seeing the learning that took place from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, and seeing, even doing the sacraments with our second graders, seeing them learn more about their faith. And once I stepped into an administrative position, though, I did learn the value of flexibility and knowing that every day was going to be very different, but also getting just the bird's eye view of what it takes to get the system running. And it's not just a small piece of a puzzle, but the really big picture. It's hard to see when you're in the classroom, but when you step out, you see the value of what everybody brings to our school. How hard the office staff works, and how hard our teachers and our support staff work, and our parish connections, and even our family groups. To keep everything running and to keep our traditions alive, it really does take the whole community. And I love seeing the kids as they progress from year to year. I shared earlier, we have currently 22 of our teachers are alumni, which is a wonderful number. We have 87 faculty and staff members, but to see our alumni go through our school and then want to come back to be teachers, to be here on campus, to bring their children with them, and especially when we're doing tours. This week was our first week of tours, and on Monday we had 2 alumni families, and at the end of the tour, everyone on the tour pre-registered, which was wonderful to see. Thursday we had 2 more alumni families. They pre-registered, so we already have a full pre-K2 class, half of another pre-K2 class full. It's amazing to see them come back to a place that they consider home, and we're happy to do that.
Lindsay, what was your proudest moment so far as principal?
There's so many. It's hard to say. I would say something that sticks out in my mind was seeing the teachers come together, seeing our community come together, and at the end of our first year after being quarantined and after being together, having our students come back. We had a parade, a drive-through Aloha parade, so that we could say goodbye. Our kids hadn't seen our teachers since March 13th. We didn't know what the next school year would look like at all, but it was a proud moment for me, I think, because I got to see just how important school is for everybody around us, especially in this community. But our teachers were so supportive. They were so happy to see the kids. And even through the next year, knowing that there were still more challenges to face, and even into this year, more challenges to face, they do such a wonderful job of keeping, they're dedicated, and they keep the students front and center in their minds. So even with quarantining and Ida and COVID, they're still here. They're so dedicated that even if their homes are uninhabitable right now, they made it back, and they put this as a priority for our students.
How about you, Susan? Your proudest moment?
Pretty much what she said, but it was Katrina, because I was doubtful how many parents are going to come back to this crazy new schedule of 2 different campuses. And when I stepped into the church and saw standing room only of people that were willing to sacrifice just to get their kids back to St. Anne, it was just overwhelming, because that shows us all what the community thinks of St. Anne School and how it's a priority for their children.
How has the teaching classroom environment changed? What change do you think has had the greatest impact on education
Well, I think right now technology,
Absolutely.
you know, and you know the quarantine did push us even further. So we were able to secure a grant and purchase iPads for our kindergarten students on up. So it's a 1-to-1 iPad ratio right now. Before it was middle school, but our students, we did last year to prepare for in case we needed to have another closure. We called it Tech Tuesday, and every Tuesday they would bring their iPads home, do their homework on their iPads through Google Classroom, just so the parents could be familiar too, and then come back to school. The little ones don't use their iPads all day, every day. They use it very sporadically. They'd much rather be in their centers and do other things, but you know, it did push us in a different direction. We were already such a technologically advanced school. It pushed us even further than what we had been doing before. And so this year we're trying to regroup and see what do we really like that worked well that we want to keep? What is something that we added that we really can let go of? And one thing that we are adding is new line boards. So we have 72-inch new line panels to replace the old smart boards in every classroom. That's going to be coming up soon, and they're compatible with the teacher iPad and with the student iPad. So when the teachers would like to do a presentation, they can use their iPads, and the students can also submit answers and have them pop up on the board.
That's amazing.
They're adjustable by even just like your finger. You can lift them up and down. You can erase with your hand. They're really wonderful. So the technology keeps expanding and growing and changing each year, so we're happy that we can provide that for the students.
And so my final question before we take a walk around campus, what is your hope, Susan, for the legacy of St. Anne's School?
Well, it is coming true. It's that we can stay at the top of whatever we need to do to meet the challenges of today with the students, as well as keep the teachers up to date. It's happening. And then the other thing is that beyond that we have successful children, not just successful, but they are happy to be here. And it is amazing, like you said, I always was rewarded by seeing alumni families coming back. That tells you they had a happy experience here and they want that for their children. So for that to continue, that's what I would like.
And Lindsay?
I'll piggyback on that and say, you know, the same thing. You know, 100 years from now, it would be wonderful to see that St. Anne is still a thriving community, that we're able to provide a Catholic education to those in our parish, in our community, and expand on, you know, we have 90 staff members right now almost. So it's, you know, it really is a beacon for many people, seeing that continue and seeing our students continue to grow and excel year after year. It's a wonderful thing.
Okay, well, thank you. So we are going to move into taking a walk around school.
Okay, so I was telling Susan about the future of our meeting center. So we made some changes to our library to give the students some flexible seating. As they come in, they can sit on the little lockers.
Can I peek in?
Sure.
Do you know, way back when I first joined St. Anne Parish with my family, we actually went to church in here. I don't know if Kay remembers that.
I do,
This side was where they held mass before the church was built.
and I don't think there were walls. There were no walls.
There were walls.
Yeah.
Who knew you had
So you got a sacred place here.
library?
Well, you see, I feel blessed.
Yep, I remember that. We joined the parish in '76, and the church wasn't finished yet. How you doing?
How are you?
Good.
I was
Good,
telling
looking
Ms.
at all the
Kropog
new
about-
things.
Yes, so we did get some
That's
flexible
cute.
seating this summer, and then since our students go to Gina once a week on the desktops,
Mm-hmm.
and they have their iPads in the classroom, we're transitioning the media center. Right now it's being used for storage for the new boards and things that are coming in from the state, but in the future we're gonna make that our STEM lab. Miss Peggy in the library, if you remember, we had started our makerspace STEM lab here. That'll now formally be our STEM lab when we get it up and running. So that's one of our in the works projects.
That's great.
And this is where the little ones come. So,
Oh, that's cute.
yeah, so they'll come for what, pre-K 3, 4, and
Pre-K,
kindergarten.
3, 4, and kindergarten kind of does fit.
And they
Those
sit
are
in these little,
adorable.
they're very cute. They love them.
It's a maze
It's
to get through.
Yes. Be careful.
Here's
Okay.
all the new boards.
Here's all the
Hi,
new
Elizabeth. Wow.
So all the students have an iPad, but they also have a new charging cart in their classrooms too to charge the iPads in. And then we're gonna be getting, with the new line panel, each teacher is gonna get a laptop that they can use for home and school. And then the wall mount that comes with it. And then also a tablet stand. So instead of having a document camera, they can put their iPad down and use it as a document stand. Is that neat?
And the iPads will broadcast directly to these. So you have the
Just
built-in.
amazing.
So this one's actually on a stand that we can like move around as we want in this room. The ones in the classroom are gonna be on a mount. Elizabeth, you wanna tell about it's like a hydraulic?
It's called a balance box mat, so the teachers will be able to, with one finger, move it up and down so they can have it at their height.
That is awesome.
And
Isn't
then
that
lower it for the kids. And the nice thing with these is it comes with what they call an overlay. So you can basically, over anything that you pull up, write directly on the screen. And you can have two people writing at the same time.
That's that's something new. So the old boards, you can only do one person at a time on a touch. The new ones, you can have multiple children coming up at the same time playing on the board. There's a built-in computer, so they don't need to be tethered to their desktops.
And there's a built-in.
And they can connect their iPads too.
And you know, it's come such a far way from when we originally developed this room. We realized way back in the day that a one computer lab wasn't enough. So Mr. Lee, who was our maintenance man at the time, he actually did this whole room. And I have to give a shout out to Kay Boutet's father, Nofi Alfonso, because every time we were looking to make changes, he was always, as an architect that he was, helpful in giving us advice as to what we could do. Because, you know, things were changing. I know they're changing faster now, but when they were changing then, it was good to have a go-to person when you had to rearrange things inside of a building. So I can't believe how far this particular room has come, because we were so proud when we made it. Wow.
Well, we're
That's
excited
awesome.
to envision what the future is
That's
going to be
right.
like. Even with the fun lighting and different spaces or 3D technology for the kids.
Jeez.
Really something that those who are interested in STEM can really get a handle on here at St. Anne before they go to high school. Robotics and lots of different things. So.
And then that's all a credit to people like Elizabeth and all the other teachers who are keeping up with whatever the technology is today.
Yeah. They went to visit maybe 5 or 6 schools last year that have a STEM lab or a makerspace already, just to gather ideas, and they took a team of teachers, our curriculum coordinator Holly went, and then Gina too, just to get an idea of what's out there and what's possible to bring back to St. Anne. So.
All right, Kay, you asked me about a funny story that I remember from my time at St. Anne. This was my office when I was assistant principal. One day, Monsieur Duke popped in, and that's not like him. He didn't come visit me. He comes in and he said, "You're going to be one of the first to know that the Salesian sisters are leaving this region." And I was shocked because Sister Kathy didn't say anything. So I told him, I said, "Well, Father, I'll be very happy to help whatever new principal that you pick." He goes, "Oh no, you're gonna be the principal." It's like that. In the middle of the day, of a day when I didn't expect anything. That's how things happen around here, right? Hi, friends. You know Mrs. Guidry though, she needs to be first. That's it. Take my step to the back. So who eats in the cafeteria?
So first grade and up eat in the cafeteria.
Uh-huh.
We had to change the schedule just so they could spread out a little bit further.
Right.
We do our best so that they don't have to quarantine. If they do have a positive case, the kindergarten and up only have to quarantine in small little pockets.
You notice the new water
We got our
fountain?
new water fountain, so we do have more of these coming from the state too.
Filling the water bottles? That's awesome.
This one was actually, we have 2. We have this one and one in the gym, and that was added last year with the proceeds from home and school.
Cool. Look at all these children.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the best things about being principal is the excitement that you never lose during holidays and end of the school year, the beginning of the year. No other profession can give you that. You know? One of the things I've learned through so many years is that from things that happen and you might be despaired, come opportunity. We had to tear down this old convent because it took on 3 feet of water. So this is a parking lot, and then we were able to add that early childhood building on the other side. You only see all that when you're looking back in a perspective. When you think times are dire, you see that opportunities develop from that. Glad we have this now. I am very proud of this building, early childhood, because we knew there was a need among our parents in the community to go lower than 3-year-old. We wanted to do 2s. At first I was discouraged because of all the licensing that is involved and the paperwork. But we persevered, and I'll tell you, that was tough because I had to kind of do all that paperwork, find out what we had to do. But again, people in the community were there to help, and at that point, we had Craig Carl. Like, I remember the very last minute, one of the ladies from the state said, your changing table is just not the right dimensions, you can't open it. I mean, he was over that day and fixed it so we could open. It was just amazing how we can get that going at a time when we didn't have a lot of extra help to work on it. And I know y'all been able to keep it up quite well, and that the program could expand to 3 classes of 2-year-olds now. It's just amazing.
It is, and they're wonderful. They take such good care of the kids. It really is an extension of home for them.
Yep.
But they also treat it as a learning center. So they learn so much in pre-K2. They're engaged throughout the day. The teachers do such a good job. They're all certified teachers. They do such a good job working together to make it a really special place for the kids to begin school.
Yep.
All right, go ahead.
Kate, you asked me one of my most memorable moments here. It's funny we're in front of this trophy case, because of course I remember all the wonderful playoff games and sports where our kids won the trophies. But the year I remember most is when the Saints won the Super Bowl. Everybody was excited. Every week we played Saints songs on the intercom, and you know, just the contagion of everybody's excitement made the whole year go so well. And it's again another case of you can come from bad times, whether it be Katrina or now COVID, but you never know when excitement and good things are going to be right around the corner. And that was a very memorable time, I think, for the students, the teachers, and of course for me.
All right, well, to close, I want to thank Kay for videoing this for us, and Ms. Kropog for coming back. Your legacy is alive and well, and it's a blessing for us to continue what you've done to build such a great school.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be back, because really this is my first time since COVID began to come back, and I am just so impressed with all the progress you've made and how far everybody has come, even through challenging times. And that's my wish, that all continues. It's great seeing everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.